Four, three, two, one. Go.
What's up, Motivational Mentor family? It's me again. Again, live. You see, I'll be on YouTube on the Motivational Mentor channel. We'll also be on Spotify. So we did this episode last time with Nancy. We had issues for reasons. So, and like I said, we're off being coach. So to kind of you take over because I think that we talked a little before this about the different topics you want to cover and a little bit of tweaking from the last episode. And so I think it's best just to let you go and then we'll go from there. So say hello to Nancy Zarcone.
Hello, everybody. Okay, like I was saying, last time we did this, we were like, and but so whoever's watching this, I will be, I'm gonna be looking at the screen and Heather, whatever works. We're gonna go with the phone here.
That's right.
Okay. My name is Nancy Zarcone. I am a child of God first and foremost. I'm daughter of a king. I have teenage girls. Grandma and dad. And I'm a wife. And I'm a breastfeeder. Yes. The reason Heather asked me to be on here on her podcast was to share my journey because I had been sharing it on my private social media for some time, and we are Facebook friends. So you kind of were following my journey, and you just asked me to share, and so here we are. So I will start from the beginning to give all of you context. I was diagnosed with stage breast cancer in November. November 7th is my official diagnosis date. That is when it was officially on paper. So for the sake of time, I'm just going to give you like the version of this. I was 37 at the time. I am now 38. I was in the shower and doing what you do in the shower, and I was just doing this type of thing. I love how we now have a visual so I can show. I was doing the scrubby thingy and scrubbing, and I felt a lump, and it was in my left breast, and I thought nothing of it. I had been biopsied right after my pregnancy. My girls are now 15 and 16, so do the math. I mean, that's a long time ago. I was biopsied because I felt something, and this was in 2008. They biopsied both my breasts. There was nothing to be concerned about. So now, fast forward 16 years, I thought the same thing. There's nothing to worry about. I am fine. I actually was thinking like, this is a cyst, no big deal. I'm going to call my primary doctor, let her know. At that time, I had a trip scheduled. So again, in my head, I'm like, this is no rush. I will and my doctor, and I was just like, maybe I should do like some imaging before I see Mariah. At this time, I was sharing it with a few friends who were really close to me. I shared it with cousin, and she rolled and she said, yeah, you definitely need to get this checked out. So I went and got imaging done. I got an ultrasound, and that's important for me to state because I know that everything was okay. That's important to note that our breasts can look many different ways. For me, I hadn't really done a lot of homework then because I'm not thinking cancer. I'm thinking, no big deal. I felt something, it's a cyst. I'm gonna go get it. To an ultrasound, everything is fine. At that time, I was scheduled to write my primary doctor. So again, I just wasn't extremely knowledgeable in how all of this worked. So my ultrasound showed everything was okay, but I had very dense breasts. I did not even think of those things, thinking of it. But to note, because that's the homework that women should be doing. It doesn't matter if you have history or you don't have history. Um, Another point that I like to share when I'm speaking about my journey, I don't have any history. So cancer just doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter if you have history. It doesn't matter what your age is. If you feel something, if something in your, if your gut is telling you something is not okay, listen, listen, listen. Do your homework and do your homework and do your homework. Everything looked fine. And I went on my trip and I returned and I went and saw Mariah. That's a very short timeline. But when I identified my lump to when I returned from my trip, it was less than a month. And in that amount of time, the lump got applied. I knew something was wrong. That's probably not a cyst that we were talking about. Right. Because when I Googled, it said cysts do not grow in the manner in which my lump was growing. My primary doctor, I was really concerned at this time now. This is a cyst. In fact, there was a night that I was getting ready to go to bed and I turned to Jeff, my husband, and I said, what if this is cancer? And I don't know, I had that thought. I hear that I had cancer. I just always thought those commercials don't relate to me. When people speak about October, which ironically we're in, October Breast Awareness Month, that doesn't relate to me. I have empathy, but that's just not me. So I go and I see her. At this time, the lump had grown in size. And so I look at her and I just said, Mariah, and I removed my top and it was priceless because she knew I specialized in that area. So she said a lot without really not saying much at all. So she expedited my visit. In other words, she expedited an MRI. She expedited all of the tests, so MRI and mammogram. She expedited all of that. I went into where I live, because the city where I live, and my husband was with me. We went in and I did all of the things, the mammograms, and I wasn't sure if I was going to receive my results there and then. Again, I don't know how this stuff goes. So back to do all of those things, and then is going to analyze my test. She's waiting in another room. I'll be in shortly. And she came in and she said, I can't say for certain that it's cancer, but it's looking. Exactly what she said, but that's what I can't say for sure that it's cancer, but I can say for sure that it's abnormal. What I'm looking at, they are looking like cancer cells. So we then set everything up with the team, who's now my oncology team. And they set up a biopsy. So a biopsy, they go in and actually take samples. We did that, and then all, and my pathology report, in fact, confirmed that I was dealing with breast cancer. At that time, I was not told which stage. It's hard to tell almost. They know they can confirm it's cancer. Pathology report can confirm that's cancer, but in that case, I can't, at least in my case, confirm right away which stage you're in. They have to do a little bit more digging. Um, they knew, however, that in speaking to me, the timeline was a very in that very short timeline, my lump had grown significantly. That was something to worry about. That told us this cancer, this is pretty aggressive. It's wanting to grow, right?
Yeah.
We don't want that, obviously. When I tell you I already knew before I received that phone call, long story short, the building in which I live, and again, I always say, God was always working behind the scenes, right? I have a neighbor who had just moved into the building. She's a pathologist at KU. I'm with KU. My team's with KU. That's who's taking care of me with all of my cancer stuff. She had just taken her position at KU, moved here out of state, and so I started going through. My team at KU, she's working with KU. She said, I saw your file, I pulled your pathology report, and here's what you're looking at. So when I received that phone call November 7th, I already knew because Wade, my neighbor, who was a pathologist, confirmed. Again, I didn't know which stage. I just knew it's cancer. Cancer's in my life now. So my doctor, my primary doctor, Mariah, called me. I had not shared with her that my neighbor had pulled my pathology report. And so she said, are you sitting down to the little private room / office? And I said, yes. She said, you have cancer. I am so sorry. And so November 7th, I was about to go on a wild ride. A train that was full speed ahead, and I didn't know how we're going to destination. I didn't know how fast this train was going. I just knew I had to get to go, and we had to go.
And I think it's, you and I have talked about, and I think there's been a little bit of conversation in previous episodes, but cancer has been a big part of my life. Not personally, I hope it never is, but when you just said those words, I have cancer, I was like, because my mother had to call and tell me she had cancer, my sister had to call and tell me she had cancer. Those 3 words are just,
yeah. And we speak about when we have to say those 3 things to our family, they're not easy. And I touched on this on when we first to receive, obviously, but the diagnosis is equally as hard, if not harder, when you have to break the news. When we were leaving the cancer center after being biopsied, after having gone through the mammogram and the ultrasound, that appointment, when she said these in fact look like cancer cells prior to my biopsy, I had to make a phone call, and I had to call my mother and my sister. They both knew that I was scheduled for this appointment. They were obviously both hoping that I would call back and say I'm with my appointment and everything looks great. So they are the people that I called. I waited until I was in the car, because from the time that I sat in her office telling me that this is cancer you're dealing with, we don't know what it's going to look like yet, but it's cancer. I had to walk to my vehicle, and I was just quiet, and I was just like processing. I'm just thinking I have to make in my mom, it wasn't the case. Hers was cancer in her throat. So she was just really hoping I wouldn't have to tell her that. And then my heart broke having to tell her that. So sometimes I say that it was hard to tell family, like, I am really sick and there's really not much you can do. You just kind of have to watch me suffer for a little bit. And yeah, I hopped on a FaceTime and I texted my sister and my mom and I said, I'm done. Can you guys hop on a call? We're on a group FaceTime, and I said, yes, I am dealing with breast cancer. And I don't know, something you can't describe. We're like, it's just three broken hearts. Talk about, you do have some thoughts in the back of your head. You want to be hopeful, and I'm almost like wanting to comfort my sister and my mom, which is so ironic, and they're trying to comfort me. We're really close, so we're just you just get hit by a bus, and you're just kind of like, we're good, we're gonna shake it off, but so it's heartbreaking to tell you that you're sick. And so we ended the call, and I was quiet. It was a 20-minute car ride to get home. I don't remember speaking to Jeff a lot on the ride home. In fact, I don't know that we spoke at all. I think he was at a loss for words. I think he was also in shock, and my wife, like, what I don't really remember, like, your protect so much, and so it kind of shuts down on you. And so I almost felt like that's what it did. It shut down on me a little bit, because it was trying to protect me. So I don't remember a whole lot. I just remember it was a really quiet car ride home. And I remember this. I remember riding home and I was talking to God. And prior to my diagnosis, I've always been a believer. I've always been a believer. Prior to my diagnosis, it's kind of like any relationship in your life. The relationship can suffer. Any relationship that you have in your life. And so God is my father, and sometimes us kids can get really stubborn and not really listen to our dad, and we know what we should be doing. Maybe we don't do that. I really felt like I wasn't nurturing my relationship the way I should have been, and just getting a little bit. And so I just to God and I said, keep forward, just growing a little bit distant and going through some things that I think I had to go through. And I can't do this without you, God. And I just need you to be in the driver's seat. And, I'm sorry for being stubborn, but from here on out, you're going to drive this. And I'm not going to do this without you. And just just get in the driver's seat, and I'm your passenger, and I promise that I'm not going to get in the way. I'm not going to get in the way. So just do what you need to do, Lord, and I'm going to listen. And that is the conversation I had with God on the way home, and I've kept true to that. And I also promised that I would share my testimony. I just knew God was going to do what He needed to do. However, this ended, I just said I want to share what you do in my life. So I started hopping on social media, and I started making posts, and I just kind of started. Everybody was very honest about every step of the way, and it's not like the journey has ended. We're still ongoing.
Right. Well, I think the thing that stood out, and like I said, I told you last episode when you first sort of asked here for you, and I thought, not doing. She was not healed. I prayed for my sister, and she was not healed. I thought, nope, I'm not going to do it, because when I pray for people with cancer, they don't get before I think when I went to your benefit, was the first time I'm like, I don't think I have that much power. I'm gonna pray. I started praying for you then, and I can remember when you would post just the strength that you would in your reading your words, just the strength you had, and everyone was like, and I'm always the one. Everyone's like a couple episodes ago that I am this person. I have cancer, so I've gone through cancer twice with other people. It's very different, I would imagine. But I was always amazed at the strength that you would show and just your faith. God with her walker, she kept saying, "My God's going to heal me," even when they told her nothing else could be done. And so, just reading the words, they were very familiar, like with my sister, just how strong your faith was, and it was very inspiring.
Yeah, and I just really appreciate that you're so honest about that. I can't imagine how hard it must have been to tell me.
I didn't know you till after you were
You
here.
did it. There was a post where she came. I don't know. I don't take people clean about that, but you held it. Um, we met through a mutual friend, by the way. Um, Jeff and I, we met a great group of people, and she was like it was that situation. So, anyways, we never really had like in-depth conversations, but you followed me on social media, and so like one thing led to another. But they were always so supportive. But I just had no idea. I had no idea about your background or anything else for that matter. And so I posted. I don't have an exact date. Like I'm drawing a blank because I'm really good with my dates. But I had a PET scan not too long ago, and the PET scan showed no cancer. God is, like I said, always working. Um, so when I posted that, I think you felt okay about like maybe I could share this now, which great. Like timing was great. I don't want to pray for me. Wow, exactly. It's gonna end bad. But anyway, she was really honest about it. I just really appreciate this person, and I think that's why I'm really connected to you. You just kind of own it, and you're honest about it. Anyways, that's there's a lot of perspectives when you share your diagnosis, and you may not know them all, but I really appreciate it. And like, there's so many people that are probably looking at media posts. Great for her that she has her faith, but I know X, Y, and Z that also had that, and they're no longer here. That's your case. You a lot of people. I have friends who follow me on Facebook that have people who have died of cancer, breast cancer specifically. I know that. Even when I was posting, I thought maybe there's one day that I'm gonna post and say, "Hey guys, like it's just not gonna turn out." I was mindful of all of that, but that's also why it was so important to be just so honest along the way. Like, I'm not gonna waver from the faith. That's already established. Nothing's getting in the way of that. When I put it like this, and I put it to I framed it like this last time. When death is knocking at your door, when you're confronted with your own mortality, there's nothing like it. You can hide from it, or you can be honest about it and publicly share. That just happens to be my personality. You can go through a battle and not publicly share. That's completely okay. You can fight I just felt like I really wanted to, and it helped me in return. All the love to help heal me. It was helping me, and I could have never imagined that. Mortality, and I just, you can do this your way, the way you've been trying to do life, because I'm an OCD person and I have control issues, and I want to.
That's why we like each other.
That's why we like each other, probably. And this is just you just can't. You have to surrender. Like I said, I've always been a believer, but it kind of sometimes we get into this like little rut where we in God, but we just try to do it our way. And we just start to like, the more we do it our way, the easier it gets to go on, so forth. that was like, oof, like I've really been getting in the way of God. Like I asked for these prayers and I asked for these things, like, but I've been trying to like drive this, And so, what does it look like if I end up? Because first of all, I have cure cancer. What am I going to do?
Right.
So I can surrender it and I just be really honest about it. And I decided to do both. And where it takes me, it takes me. And so there's a misconception about cancer that I is um, so I'm getting really passionate about. And again, I love that we're doing this again because the first time we tried to record this, I shared it on my social media, but I wasn't getting like into the details about it, right? I was that was on purpose. It was just, but and so I decided like if I'm gonna do like podcast or speaking, I'm gonna get the speaking engagement in Spanish, and I spoke to women who were in the rooms, like back them had powerful stories. They, everybody has a story. I say cancer, no cancer, left me afterwards and just shared some really cool things. And so I thought, when I do this podcast again, there's just certain things that I just want to make sure that I point out because one of them being it's okay to not be okay. I know we see that all the time. Yes, I'm a very positive person because I do think that you have to have a very disciplined mind. Mindset is everything. Mindset, it will dictate how you navigate through anything in your life. The right place to go through. So that's not, I don't know that other stuff can be right. So first of all, mindset. You got to be disciplined with this. It's going to be okay. Trust me, I wasn't. And then secondly, when someone shares remission, and I say remission because that's how I feel about it. When I share that my PET scans resulted in no cancer currently living in my body, that is a celebration. Huge, doesn't stop. People are thinking, let's celebrate. She's done. She was running the marathon. She's at the finish line, and she's done.
Yep.
That's so far from the truth. And it was my sister-in-law who's also was with cancer. She shared that. In fact, I'm not okay, and I just want everybody to know whether if you have cancer or you're supporting someone going through cancer, just know the journey really doesn't have an end. It just looks differently. So while I was going through active cancer, I was going through, I did 16 chemotherapy sessions. I then had my double mastectomy surgery. I opted to do a double mastectomy. I then went into um, 25 radiation sessions. And then I went through another surgery, which was a full hysterectomy. And that one was more optional because in doing my homework, I knew that I had positive, by the way, that could affect my ovaries. And it was ventilation I felt passionate about. So I went through 2 operations, 16 chemos and 25 radiation sessions. When you're going through that active, you're focusing on that you're focusing on. Then you get out of that, and then I had my PET scan, and it showed I have no active cancer. Huge celebration. Obviously, now I'm like, yay, we went through all of this, and the medicine worked. Thank you. Now we have. Now we're on to the title called "Dealing with Life Without Cancer and Post Treatment." you are another, when you go through that much, putting your body through, you don't, you're putting your body because you're so focused on getting yourself healthy. So you're just being told, take this medicine, have this many shots, go through these many amount of sessions. That's what you're thinking about. And when I'm done with that, it's like, I just went like 12 rounds in the boxing ring, okay? And I knocked down every single time. But then now I'm living in the, okay, I'm cancer free. But a bit of PTSD. I didn't really know that was a thing. You're left with no appointments anymore, but now what? My body doesn't feel the same anymore. It's weaker. I just dealt with an infection that, you know, take some antibiotics. We're good.
Well, I basically had the same thing.
Yes.
One round of antibiotics. Mine was
You're good. That used to be me.
Yep.
That's no longer the case. You start to realize you're dealing with a whole new body. And so you yourself are getting to know this new body. You yourself are getting to know this new life. And that takes some working through. So, again, whether you're going through a cancer supporting someone, don't assume they're just good, they're done. No, they're just dealing with another set now. We're in a new chapter called post-treatment and self-care. And so I'm weekly. I love Rebecca, my therapist.
We're all about therapy.
We're all about therapy. I love it. Okay, that's taking care of your mind, body, spirit, and so we stay connected. We stay with faith, but you also do whatever you need to do to feed your body what it needs. My body is weaker now. That's just the reality that I'm living with. There's no pity party. It's just what it is. Mm-hmm. There were strong meds going in me. Those weaker. Now I'm 38, so I feel like I'm 65. And no offense to like 65-year-olds. It's just, the only way that I can think to phrase it, because at 38, I'm like, oh, I get out of bed and I'm like, this hurts. Right? But it's just the new reality that you have to deal with, because it doesn't just stop. I pack up my suitcase and well, go now, bye. Yeah. There's no such thing. Cancer comes in your home, it unpacks its suitcase, and it never really packs its suitcase to leave. It's always just still there. It's lingering. So you have to put in the work to still. You're you're living here because the thoughts of recurrence are always there. Again, like the body weekend, so I'm getting used to my body. I can't run like you. I can't run like I used to. I have a little PTSD from all of that, which is I'm dealing with right now. I do therapy, so I'm just getting to she's we're getting still cancer, but it lives. Yes, it lives in my home. I always will, but and I know it's just like it's like a roommate. This roommate just moved in and is going to be here, and it's like this roommate isn't going. And I just made it work. Yeah. Enters allows your roommate,
the cousin that comes to visit and won't go home.
Yep. It's never really gonna go home. It's just here to stay.
Well, and we kind of talked about, which is a lot to go through. Right? Life still happens as you're fighting this battle, and so I wanted you to kind of talk about, and I want to give you the opportunity to kind of talk about how life was still happening while you were fighting this battle of cancer. So what's going on?
Let me look at the time before because I'm going to.
We got however long.
Okay, stick with us here because it's a coming movie. It's a Lifetime / horror movie. I don't know which one. Yes. So it's not like and like cancel. Let me just like call up my boss and call up all of these people and let them know that life is on pause now and I have to just take care of cancer. That's not how it works. There's no pausing life when you're and again, cancer, there is no pause button. You kind of just have to deal with all the curveballs. So in November, I got my diagnosis, which by the way, when I went to I had the day I we found out that it had troubles with my lymph nodes. Now, they find out a lot when you're on the operating table. That's why I say it's a little tricky to give a lot of details out of the gate because doctors are extremely qualified, kind of like do a little bit of dissecting, right? So that's what was happening when I was on the operating table. They went in, and we already knew this was aggressive because there are certain markers that they look at when they do all of the tests, and there's so many tests. I was in appointments every week, if not every day, every other day. Um, we look at markers. The marker that shows how fast this is growing was really high, so we knew it was really aggressive, which is why they wanted to do chemo right away because they wanted to have a chance to fight the cancer that was in my body. Did aggressive chemo to try to from growing. And by the way, my lump was getting really big, so it was just growing so fast. So like when I felt it, it's like a little thing, and then the thing was like almost bulging. It wasn't pretty, and we went in there, and it was like almost 6 centimeters. So they're thinking like we want to get meds in you as soon as possible to stop this. Which and then by the way, you don't really want it so big, so we want to we went and did that, and they're like, if chemo is doing what it's supposed to be doing, this is going to get smaller. So obviously, we're in a few chemo rounds in, and it was getting smaller, so we knew chemo was working. Anyways, we did the chemo, and then we went surgery. The tumor was smaller, which is what the goal was. When I was on the operating table, then they then found out that it was starting to travel to my lymph nodes, which is why they stage me to stage 3. When it is still when it's not traveling, I guess.
When it's
Contained. You're like stage 1, stage 2. When this thing is wanting to go outside of the breast and stage 3, once it's really traveling and it goes other places, or stage 4. So I was stage 3. They had to extract 14 lymph nodes, 3 of which were impacted. They were malignant. So they scraped my lymph nodes out. To this very day, it's a weird sensation that I feel. So like I obviously can feel this, but it feels like numb. It's like tingly. But the lymph nodes, they were modified forever. Never going to feel normal. And to this day, like it just flash describe the feeling. But it's not talking about not going back to normal. It's you just have to adapt to new things. Like once I go, I'm slowly starting to work out again, but when I really go back to it, I have to always work because so again, they know this thing was growing. It's growing fast. So that's like shocking to hear. Like, oh wow, like okay, yeah, this thing is getting, this could end in many ways here. Anyways, for we have surgery in May. So I'm just visualizing. November of last year, March of this year, So March 2024, I lost my job. Um, I am in marketing for 10 years plus. I love what I do and I love how I do it. I'm proud of my work ethic. Um, I say that because I want to preface when I got fired. Um, that was hard because I take a lot of pride in me as an employee, I suppose. Me in the field in which I'm in. Um, I know how much work I put into professional that I am. These are like a little shaky starting off your career, and but I was just really confident, really hard. I can't name the company I worked for reasons, legal reasons.
Right.
So I went in and again, I'm marketing / branding, so I deal with clients. At that, on this specific date, it was Friday. I'll never forget. I go in and I'm thinking that we're going to speak about a client. It's no big deal. We're going for a meeting and we're going to just review, things that happens like leading up to that time. I'm leaving work Tuesday because session. So every single Tuesday, I'm on tax hole, so I have to be absent from work. Not to mention the days that he agreed to be hybrid because just sometimes nothing. I was like, don't plop on top when I'm not feeling great. Try to give it my all. And so on this date, March 1st, I go in, I'm thinking it's a meeting, we're speaking about a client, and he pretty much said we're going in different directions, and this is just not working out. All of that meant this just isn't working out. Like, never would I have imagined that would have been part of my journey, because when I was, he prayed, he literally, and I'm thinking, man, I'm so blessed to have just someone that's going to understand. And he said, we're like family, we're going to support you. I have like a support system, like great. And then that leads to a meeting and being fired. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'm professional long enough to know, like, the business at the end of the day, unfortunately, when you're not showing up and doing what you need to do, or are capable of doing what they want you to do at the extent they want you to do it, it's just, they're looking at numbers.
Right.
So I was let go effective immediately. I come home and I'm like sobbing. It was just hard hit. And then you start to feel like you feel this weird guilt. I didn't perform well as a professional in my job. And so, mind you, I'm sick. So then it was Jeff who really sparked this is not okay. And then her name's Leah. And I met her. She's the sister of the friend who rides with us. We've never met in person, actually. She lives in Virginia. She's a doctor out of Virginia, an ear doctor. And it was like, you remind me a lot of my sister Leah. Let me connect you guys. He's already group chatting us. Yeah. He was like group chatting us, and he's like, this is my friend Nancy. She writes with us, and she has cancer too, and here you go. And I'm like, okay. And that's everything. Like, Leah and I are, she's a fireball. She's a firecracker. And then her husband's an attorney. So I called her and I'm like, Leah, guess what? this, I got fired. And she's like, immediately, no, no. And she was like moving her son to college when I called her. And I'm like, what are you doing? Stop the with me. Like, so sorry. She's like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, we should be mad. And she's like, we got a phone. I'm going to talk to my husband. And so she calls me back and she's like, the federal laws in place for you hired. And I know, but go. You got to do this. And I'm like,
I'm here with us now, so I'm gonna
like, yes. I'm like, yeah, yes. And I'm like, you're right. You know, those friends are just like, go. And I'm like, I'm so tired. I'm so drained. I'm doing this, man. I'm like, we're doing this. And then Leah's like, think of like federal laws were put into place because someone like you was let go while being sick, and it's not okay. So this is why it happened, Nancy. So now, and I'm like, yes, you're right, you're right. I just needed that, and we hooked about chemo. I think it was the following week, and Jeff has a picture of me on top, fully bald, and I'm like how to like put a um state of Kansas, how to do this, how to do that, and I'm like, I'm going at it, and I'm like, she's right. I'm going to stand up for myself, for every woman behind me, for every woman ahead of me, and we're just going to do this. And so, anyways, I was going through a lawsuit. I was let go March 1st, complaint the following, and I, with the support family and friends, I just learned how to do that. I have another friend. God's always working. I have another friend that I met through my daughter's friend who was diagnosed right around the same time. We weren't very close at the time, and she got diagnosed, unfortunately, and I just reached out to her, and she happened to know an attorney, friends. You call him up. I called on, and I don't usually take these cases, but I really I like what you're doing here, and I essentially want to be a part of it. And so we all just started going, and then so he took my case. I spent 4 hours time, and I was just putting all of the evidence that I thought would support my case. Put a binder together. We went to mediation. I spent 8 hours in a room. A side note: this was never me thinking I'm going to be in a yacht and I'm going to be rich. Principle 11. Here's the other thing that's really difficult. I say difficult, but where the faith can't waver, right? Like you say you're going to do things in God's name, and you have to do it every step of the way. Do it in God's name. Biblically, it's not okay to take any action because you want revenge, because it comes from a place of just anger, hatred, wanting to get revenge. So I lost it. So we're down in income, which means I don't have insurance because the insurance through my job is gone. I don't have a job, which means that if I want to keep my insurance going so that it pays for the medicine that is helped me keep me alive, I have to now pay a premium that's really high. So Cobra, how expensive?
Expensive enough for it. But I didn't have cancer, so let's be clear.
Okay.
That would have been a different choice.
Okay, look, well, in honesty, my Cobra it's $914 every month, and I don't have a job anymore. And again, are you guys? I hope nobody's following along because
I'm sure
we all have a popcorn still.
If not,
Okay,
we're very disappointed in you.
Yes. Yeah. Give me one star podcast. March, I lost my job. Caitlin, my good friend, connected me with an attorney. He was amazing. He said breast cancer was personal to him because he had lost some family. So, he was great. That was a God thing because he had this. Leah was a God thing. She has a husband who is an attorney, and she gave me that like fire when I needed that fire. I called her from bed because I felt just like, what is I just got fired. She gave me that little too. I shouldn't want because like he's every single day, so it's kind of like goes without saying, but it should be my corner man. But he was just with me every single step of the way in my corner, and so he was like, "Go get him! Like you got to do this. Filing for unemployment, like the stuff that and okay, so there's that. There's Caitlin who connected me. There's Leah who connected me to this very day. I'm still close to the both of them. They are amazing, 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 strong women. And there's my husband who was starting a new job at this time. He wasn't employed with them very long. Stratos International. They're out of Independence, and I do want to name them by name because they're not about the talk. They are about the walk. Right. They walk the walk. There's a lot of organizations / companies who are Christian based, who are alleged to be standing on those principles. In branding. Sometimes it's a branding thing. Right. All right. Like that's
There's
just
one group we know we're gonna have.
Yes.
Yep.
Strategies International. They don't have to have this huge marketing campaign or branding campaign. It's all about their actions and how they treat people. Granted, Jeff wasn't working for them very long. They have prayer meetings every Tuesday. And so a week, he let them a job. Could we please pray? And he comes home and he says, they want to help cover your insurance. And I'm like, they don't even know me. Like, when I see things bring me to tears in this journey, like that's one of them. There are certain guardian angels that God sends, and I'm a big believer in that because too during this, and I said I could never repay you in monetary sense, but I'm going to repay you by passing it forward, and I've done just that. Like when I think of speaking to women, I think of passing it forward. Angel, and I also say the word angel. God sent me that at the time that I most needed something, and the only way that I can think to repay that blessing is to pass that blessing forward. So they helped cover me financially with Cobra, and they said like do it. That's huge, and I don't know. I haven't realized from question like, can I share that? But it's part of my testimony, and it's powerful because when I think of like how God was just protecting me along the way, yeah. He truly was protecting me. When my family like 180 degrees to what it had looked like, protecting us, they're healing people, and we're all connected with one another. And I don't know how I would have done it otherwise. And so that's March, and then that's all. That's all. Yeah, 2016, and losing my job, going through that, and God taking me through that, and I'm just and then and I say that because chemo affects you a lot. Like you have really strong medicine in your body, and it like affects you, like whether you like it or not. It's just how it is. Like it's really strong side of the way that you're maneuvering. Like chemo brain is a real thing. And I say that because when she told me she was pregnant, I dealt with it in a way that I'm not, and I can blame and I'm extremely angry because I pride myself in the communication that I have with my like all the time. So I'm just like, how? I talked to you about this. Like, I was very like, I was good about talking to you because teen pregnancy was like my my fear to have teens get pregnant.
I think that's when that was my biggest thing.
It's a
Was like
fear.
you can flunk out of school, you can just don't get pregnant. And then I look at my sister, and I'm just like, no, I think she was 16, and I mean, she turned out great.
She turned out great, and they do it well, and they do, and
probably
they will.
a better mom than I'll ever be. However,
thank you.
It's just like,
and also like
anything but that.
Yes, and I'm a young grandma. Okay, I'm like,
yeah, you are.
I remember saying to her in the kitchen, I cannot make this up. I was in the kitchen, and this was before we found out she was pregnant, obviously, and I was saying something about someone getting pregnant, and the young grandma girls, like, you know, yes, Mom, we know. It's just one of those, like, it happened. Mm-hmm. Here's where I will take account to say this. There were signs leading up to pregnancy that I probably could have been more proactive as a mother, right? And it's important for me to state that because when certain family members on her dad, my daughter was pregnant, completely talked to us. Why? Because they have done more to prevent this, and it was essentially my fault. At that point in time, I am like having to deal with chemo, getting fired, and also and I believe that for a while. I believed that. I was believing that. I was believing those lies. I was believing the enemy attacking me, telling me, "Yep, this is your fault. Like, you could have done more, Nancy." And here's the thing: when you're a mother to teen girls, first of all, you're not gonna walk around just believing them all the time, right? Like if I walked around, we're not gonna. I'm just doing this to them every single day, knocking them down, knocking their self-confidence. I'm going to put you on birth control, even though you're telling me you don't need it. I don't believe you. You are lying to me. And so, again, she's a 15-year-old. That was 15. My girls are so sweet. They're kind-hearted. They are just loving. They are two of the big reasons. Like they help me get out of bed some days. They are beautiful people. I am not going to walk around demeaning my girls just for the sake of to put my anxiety at rest. I'm not going to walk around like this. So yeah, any 15-year-old Madison was going through 15-year-old things, right?
Like, no, she was also going through her mother having cancer.
And her mother having cancer.
Which I did as a grown adult and was like, I don't.
Thank you. It's not just me being sick. It's like, right. And so she's a homebody. Like, she's not a partier. She doesn't go and like it's wild. And I was just ignoring it. No,
right.
She's a homebody. She doesn't really have a lot of friends. She fell in love with the boy. Prior to that, she took. That was like unusual, doing that every single night of the week. Like, that was weird. That was like, first of all, like, who hasn't done that as a teenager? Like, she did that. Check. Take my car out. Check. Again, like when she was doing that, didn't you put her on? Yeah, maybe I could have been more, but like I'm working with my daughter and we're working through this, and I'm trying to empathize with her. I'm trying to, hey, like, what is going on? What do you need? What do you? She's had a life coach. Like, we're trying here, okay? Because she's pregnant because of you. I then stopped believing those lies. I was like, I'm done. I'm not believing this. I'm a good mom and they're good kids. And if you don't want to be a part of our life when something has happened, that's okay. We're gonna love you anyway, but your love is conditional. And my love is unconditional, and it's always going to be unconditional with my kids. And that's just how I'm going to remain. And I'm not gonna, and I say conditional because you decide to abandon me and really dark love comes a little bit of I just don't really want to pay.
Yeah.
If you want to come back around and be in my life, like to a certain degree, you will. But I believe in like unconditional love with boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like I know that I have given you that. I've been a very loyal, like these are their dad's side, but I've known them for a really long time, so they were family to me.
Yeah.
And so I'm grieving losing them, but I just had to give it to God. I went into the room and I cried and I sobbed and I said, God, if you don't take this from me, I don't know that I can. Like this is really strong grief, really sad. Can you help me? And I'm really angry at Madison because did I not talk to her enough? Did I not support her enough? Like you take this from me. I'm having really bad thoughts about like, maybe this pregnancy shouldn't happen. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? And I had to deal with all of that. And Madison and our kids can always teach you, taught me. Like, and I told her, now I've told her, I was like, I'm proud of you, the mother, that you were defending your child in the womb before he was even born. Mm-hmm. And you at 16 have more strength than the mothers that I know 3 times, because motherhood doesn't come with, it's not attached to a number. It's attached to the love that you feel, and you have been loving this baby. And listen, yeah, you're 16, but you have a great village. Like,
and it takes a village.
It takes a village. I'm 38 and I still have a village, and I'm thankful for them. And I could never do it without. And this baby, yes, she is the one who physically carried him into our village, but he has a village. Mm-hmm. And he has an amazing mother and an amazing father. And they both work every single day really hard at being that. Because they're arriving. I don't know any mom and dad can be like, I arrived.
I was 27 when I had my first, and I had not arrived.
No one arrives. We don't arrive as parents. We just got to keep trying, and she is trying, and so is he. And so the aunts who are to the same, still not in our life, they caused her a lot of grief, and that is a miss. I guess when it comes to your kids, like God, I can do it to me. I can take it. I'm gonna be strong for my kids and my husband, but I can't take this from her. And having your kids suffer and feeling helpless is the most heartbreaking feel. See her cry. And so I would see her cry and just be like, why are you treating me like this? And I'm not gonna put hate you. I'm gonna teach you how to love people, even when it's hard to love them, because that's what the Bible says. So I don't feel like I'm just that I'm defending God's word. And God tells us, you guys, what we're called to do. Yeah, and that's really one of the hardest things. So I said, you gotta love ants anyway. You gotta pray for them anyway. Yeah. And forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. And in God's timing, if they want to come back into our life with boundaries, we will allow that. But right now, you just have to know, we just gotta grieve.
Yeah. And it's funny how you talk about a village and how, things spread. There's been the last couple of weeks I've been very open on recently about how I struggled. And there were days where you would post a picture of him and I'm like,
isn't he so cute?
I can't get through the day now because those cheeks.
Oh my gosh, we're obsessed.
And there were literally days where I'm like a Saturday on the couch, like just I can't, I'm done. And I would pick up my phone and there he was, and I'm like, I'm okay. I'm okay.
All is good.
I can make it to this day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was gosh, I needed him more than he needed us. I think like it. The joy that he's brought into our lives, the smiles, the laughter at the time where I was doing cancer, and then here comes like this gorgeous, stunning, beautiful, cute baby who was healthy, by the way, more than I could ever ask for. And I'm like, okay, God, like, how could I ever thank you for this? And I'm so sorry that when this came, I wasn't seeing it as a blessing right away, but I see what you're doing. By the way, I couldn't have any more kids. So, like, that's another thing. Like, I wanted more kids and I couldn't. You don't ever expect your 16-year-old to have them, but, like...
Right. Well, and I think as a mom, your first thought is, this is going to make my daughter's life more difficult.
Protecting her. Just instinct.
And that's, I've gone through that with my kids in interracial dating. I've gone through that with my kids. Anything that makes life a little more difficult. You're like, on one hand, I mean, I've gone through 2 divorces fairly easily, but watching my daughter go through a divorce was
hard. Brutal.
And
you can't get in there and just fix it.
Right. And I can remember when I had my girls and my mom was like, oh my God, I've had 2 children, but this is the hardest thing I've ever done. Like, hard for you? How do you think I feel? But I get it now that I, watching your kids suffer, or I don't even want to say for because it's just a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, hardship. Just seeing them. I'm not trying to like this. I'm like, like it's just popping out here. Whatever.
We're just comfortable.
It's a mess. We're good. It's watching your kids go through hardships, and you really have to sit back and trust that God has it.
Yeah.
And you just have to trust that God has it, and you have to kind of take a back seat and watch myself go through cancer, watch myself go through losing my job, watch myself go through my daughter feeling shame over something that's so incredibly beautiful, because why adults around her were kind of saying she should be ashamed. Watching her ask or listening to her ask me, why are they hating me? Why do they hate me? To this day, she kind of struggles with that. It's been family members on that side that have just completely blocked her from their lives, like including cousins, because the parents are saying that she's bad. But watching all of that,
I'm gonna need some addresses.
And that's where God comes in, because that is like, and also I'm Mexican, like we just like, God, you got to take this, because if I handle it, I'm not going to do a very good job at it.
No.
And so you have to hand those things over to him, and he will take care of them. And he has. Madison is good. She is good. And it's okay. And I through all of this, I have held on, even when they were shaving my head. I was holding on to the book of Job. Like, you can see my family shaving my head, and I'm in the book of Job in the Bible, because that's what helped me. Specifically that book. I came in this world naked, I will leave naked. And I'm like, so true. Like, take my hair. I came naked, I will leave naked, and God has me.
Yeah.
I have to know that while I'm raising them, God has them. And yes, he gave them to me, but they're not really mine. They're his. And so when they're telling me, like, Mom, I'm having a hard time, or what did I do wrong? Like, I have to be okay with saying, I can't fix this for you, but I know who can. And like, I know what you can do is pray. And again, I'm not going to instill hate in you. Like, I would be doing her a disservice if I'm like, hate her, and you need to do. Nope. I am teaching them, like, when life gets really hard, drop on your knees and put your hands together. Yep. And then you'll be okay. Because when I'm not around, if I'm teaching them to hate, they're not going to have a lot of tools. And I want to give them the tools that are sustainable. Yeah. When I'm gone, long after I'm gone, that they can be like, my mom taught me how to pray, and she taught me how to stand up. Yeah. And my mom went through cancer, and she held on to her faith in God, and she was like, watch my mom go through that, and she was fine, and she let God take the driver's seat. Like, that's what I need to do. And then she'll pass that on to her son, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. Yeah. And so that is why I'm passionate about sharing this, because it's like, we're getting good details about what's really been happening, because it's really been hard. It has been like a lot of curveballs, but there's one common denominator, and it's been that God's been at the center of all of this, and that he has helped my family go through all of this, and not without tears. We have suffered, but we have never asked why us. We have never said, question what he's doing. He's doing something, even with my job. I don't know what's next. He's doing currently.
Tell us what y'all are working on, because I want to get that out there.
Okay.
So people are ready.
Okay. I was like, okay, which one? Because there's a lot
going
on.
But no, let's talk about the project you and Jeff are working on right now.
Thank you.
That I'm super excited about, because I I told you, I've sent you songs and said I would love to hear Jeff sing this. His voice is,
I know I'm biased, but 10 years later, and I'm still like
it's different.
front row. Like, wow,
He is anointed. Let's just say that.
Absolutely.
And his voice is definitely his gift, and I cannot wait. But that, before I give away everything, tell us what you guys are working on.
Okay. Again, it's all connected, and this is all part of the plan. When we were back home, when I met my husband Jeff, it was around the time that he lost his wife to suicide, and he shared with me he wanted to start this community worship event called Ignite. He was in a very dark place, and he just felt like God was calling him to just lead his people to worship, and he was obedient to that calling. So that was 2014. And he told me very specific things. He said, at this time I was working in the newsroom, so he was like asking if I could feature it in the newspaper. At that time, we weren't dating yet. And he said, there's very specific things to this. We're never going to ask for money at this event, ever. So, and I'm like, well, how are you funding this thing? Like, are you paying for it? And he's like, well, I don't know yet, but God said that he's just going to provide. And so I'm just obedient to that. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And so it's privately funded by private donations. So what started with 7 Day 5 people at his very first event in 2014, by the time that we left Dodge City, Kansas in 2019, there was like 600 people attending. And it was all been the same concept. He knows that God blessed him with his voice, and he wants to do something with that voice in God's name. So he leads people. It's just a night of worship. It's nothing but worship, and it's literally come as you are. We know we hear churches say that all the time, right. And it's true, but this genuinely. And that's why the concept is like, we're never going to ask anything of you, including money. There's no offering. We don't know how the next one's going to be funded, but it's been funded since 2014, and God just brings them. So we don't worry about that. We don't ask for an offering because we're worried about the funding. It happens again. And there is no like preaching. So there's not going to be like anyone preaching. And it's just literally like, come exactly as you are. Come in your PJs. We don't care. Like, just come and worship and be who you are and spend some time with God through worship. That's all. Bottom line. And so we have Ignite coming up November 11th. We've been wanting to do this since we moved to KC. We've been wanting to bring it to KC. Life happened. And also, again, it's just God's timing. And he just really just align things to happen. I might be saying that.
Shawnee Aztec Theater.
Shawnee Aztec Theater. The co-owner of that theater is an amazing man who has said, like, we're going to support you. Let us know what you need. It's a very popular venue. So he let us carve out a date. We established the date. We still did not have like the funds for it, but we were like, sure. God takes care of it. Yeah. Give us this date. We'll rent the venue.
Do you know how many seats there are in
his capacity? Is about like 150. It's like 150 to 200.
We're gonna fill those seats.
Absolutely. And then again, because God's always working. There's everything's taken care of. The contract has been taken care of. The funding has been taken care of. This certain couple they know the Ignite history, so they were like, we got this. So everything's set to go. November 17th. 5 p.m.
I think you said 11th a minute ago.
And I want to make sure that I'm saying the right date because I rely on my calendar heavily.
November 17th.
Yep.
7 o'clock. 5 o'clock.
And it's
doors open at 5.
Doors open at 5, and it's just that you literally just have to worry about showing up. And he always says an audience of one because he sings for God. And God led him to that calling in 2014, and he's obedient to this very day, and everything aligned. And yeah,
I love it. I'm excited. As soon as I saw it posted, I'm like, okay. I'm.
It is. It's nice. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it so much.
Is there anything else you want to say before we?
No, I think we've come. And I've talked to it, and I think everything that we walk away with is just surrender your worries, surrender your anxieties, and surrender your health to God, and He will see you through. And whatever that looks like, my anxiousness tells me this might come back. Like, we're not worried about that. We're worried about today, and it doesn't mean that the hardships are not going to be really hard. They are really hard. And when you're not okay, you're not okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
But if you really build that solid foundation, and the foundation being building that relationship with God, whether it's in a strange relationship, whether it's a disconnected one, or you're really connected, but you're still feeling like something is, just hold on to it. If you've built that, if you have that foundation, any house can be built on a strong foundation. As long as your foundation is solid, anything can come through. And if your foundation is good within God, you can do anything. And like I shared with you, I think I've gone through a lot in the last months, but our foundation was solid. We solid, and I am proof that out of it. You come it okay. And it doesn't mean that everything's perfect. It just means that you keep yourself, your mentality, and your emotional state intact, because God is in our life, and He's at the center of everything that we do, and we don't do it without Him.
And one thing was, a lot of times people think when you're a believer, you don't have, it's all mountains. There's no valley. Our pastor's preaching right now, just finished a series on mountains and valleys. And I think people think, well, why would God do that to you? We still have valleys, even as believers, even as Christians. And to think that we're just going to have this quick life is accurate.
It's change that person. You're just asking the wrong questions. Why me? Why am I going through this? But that's okay to ask. We're just humans, and we're flawed. We're just why we need God. Imagine if we were even need to believe in Him, right? Yeah. But it's because we're imperfect. It's because we all come into lives and we can't do it by ourselves. So it's more like, what are you teaching me through this? And if we continue to focus on why is that happening to me, then we're going to miss opportunity for a lesson, and you're going to miss a great opportunity to be taught something really valuable. I did so much on my cancer that I missed on the lesson my dad was teaching me, because he was teaching me really powerful lessons, and I just really wanted to learn them. And he's still teaching me. Helping me speak and share His word is something that He's teaching to do. But they're just valuable lessons through everything is vital for our growth. And I would really want to grow. I want to continue to grow.
Yeah.
So the only way that I can do that is to go through sufferings, and whatever it is that anyone's going through, it's vital for you. It's necessary almost. And it doesn't, your analysis, it's unique to you. And it's always a continuation. It's not so much in a row. Enjoy the trip and enjoy the lessons, and don't get so caught up on shortcomings.
Focus destination. It's the journey of getting there. I don't know where I'm going to end up, but I've had many conversations over the last 2 years. I think I'm in the valley long enough to get to the top of the mountain. And in real life, I was just at the top of a mountain. It was really nice up there. Can I go back for a bit? Mm-hmm. But like you said, the growth is a struggle. And I've been doing a lot of what was the lesson in this last thing for me. And
what's the lesson?
I don't know yet, but I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure that out.
And we will. But that's the question that I think, always ask yourself.
Yeah.
What am I learning right now in this season of my life? What is this chapter called? And what's the lesson here?
And how long is it going to last?
But
yeah. Well, in the first one. And everyone gets to see you, which I love.
Yeah.
But I thank you for doing
Thank
this.
you.
I really wanted to give you the platform to use your inspiration for other people to hear.
Yeah. Thank you guys for hanging with us.
We're so fun. Thank you guys, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.